This is the Dim Simple Media YouTube channel, the first common sense independent opposition YouTube channel in Los Angeles, done by an Angelino with 34 years experience of living here. And we are standing near a very special building. This building is an immigration building, 300 North Los Angeles. That means so much to me personally. It means so much to so many people. For many people, it symbolizes a hope, success when they came from really messed up countries of the world, really dysfunctional countries, hoping that they will come to the United States where they will earn their success. It's a land of opportunities after all, where they have opportunities to work hard and succeed. For many people, this building symbolizes something very sad. It's separation from the family when they get deported. It's emotional trauma, and it symbolizes the brutal destruction of their American dream sometimes. I myself am an immigrant. I was in the United States illegally for some time. Also, I was fortunate to get my permanent residence, to get my citizenship. Wasn't easy. I also worked in the immigration field, being an immigration attorney for over 20 years. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about this building and about what's going on there, about what's going on in immigration courts, about what's going on with immigration field in general, immigration industry, so to speak, and with people who are being used as pawns pretty much for political purposes by both parties, unfortunately. Now everyone is upset about mass deportations and people getting snatched from their homes during the raids, getting just, grabbed on the street indiscriminately. There is a lot of drama going on. There is National Guard actually is gone. He was here, but for some reason it's gone. So now there's a lot happening in immigration field and with immigrants that should be talked about with some deep understanding of the roots of all these problems. And there I want to talk about how this even happened. The media, they only focused on what's happening right this minute. Maybe that's their mission because they're trying to bring the news and opinions about what's happening now. I believe that a lot of the media are deliberately avoiding certain topics that need to be talked about because those topics shed light on what's going on now. You have to look at history. If you don't look at history, then you don't have a deep understanding of the situation that is happening now. Because I've been representing documented immigrants for 2 decades, and also myself, I was an immigrant. I was undocumented for 5 years. Was in deportation proceedings. Certainly, you would think that I have a particular bias in favor of undocumented migrants. And in fact, I do, because I've been working with them for many years. I met thousands of them, and I could form an opinion, fair opinion, because I met so many of these people. But despite my raw immigrant bias, if I'm trying to be objective about this immigration problem, I need to be fair to all sides. Just one little example. During the first Trump term, Trump suggested to Democrats that he will provide a path to citizenship for DACA recipients and for TPS beneficiaries, temporary protected status for certain Central American countries like El Salvador or Honduras, etc. So he said, okay, I'm going to provide status for them. And Democrats have been very active in advocating legalization of many of these groups of people. Democrats said no. They didn't want Trump to build the wall, but more than anything, they didn't want him to score any wins. This was one example when they just used those groups of people, immigrants, for the political advantage instead of advocating their rights. That they are saying that they're advocating for the immigrants, but how are they advocating for the immigrants if they didn't let Trump give the TPS beneficiaries path to a green card and citizenship, and the same with DACA. That was the first Trump term. In California, for example, they are giving free health care to undocumented migrants who didn't ask for it. They didn't come here to be a public charge. Most of these people, probably 95%, they didn't come here to live off public assistance. They want to work. And yet the self-serving California government offered them free health care, housing subsidies, free legal assistance, free this, free that, corrupting them. Because this is corrupting these people. And then they get perceived as some kind of professional parasites who are living off public benefits. And the Californians have to pay for it. Why? Because they wanted votes. They thought that this is how they're going to get the votes. Another reason how Democrats have been using undocumented migrants as a instrument, as a tool for cementing their power or expanding their power is they wanted as many illegal migrants to come here to California so that there would be more members of House of Representatives coming from California, because they count the number of House of Representatives based on the population, not excluding people who cannot vote. And these people, they're not allowed to vote. They're undocumented migrants. Unjustifiably expanding Democrat representation in the House of Representatives. Many of these people that I've been working with, they lived in normally functioning capitalist countries. Yes, there's a lot of problems in those countries, that's why they came here, but at least those countries had some kind of capitalism. And right now, for example, El Salvador is an excellent example of how we can have a functional democracy and capitalism in a country where government believes in common sense. What was the common sense? Mr. Bukele, Salvadoran president, rounded up MS-13 and other gangsters and put them in prison. And this is actually very disingenuous and kind of funny that the liberals here are criticizing him for that. They're saying he's violating human rights. What about the rights of normal, civilized, law-abiding people? Don't they have rights to safety? They like to talk about a right to free housing, free education, and other freebies. But what about the right to free safety? We don't have free safety in California or Los Angeles. Dominated by liberal government, by Democrat socialist government, we don't have safety here. So these migrants, this was the shocking part for me, is they come from, let's say, before El Salvador was so safe like now, it was dangerous. Well, they come from Guatemala, they come from Colombia, or Venezuela, or something like that. And then they expect here in Los Angeles or California that they will finally live in a safe environment, in a safe community, and they will finally have opportunities to get a job, to open up a business, to succeed in life. And instead of getting opportunities and safety, they get robbed by gangsters in the street, by thugs. They get attacked by homeless thugs on the street. And then suddenly they get offered all these freebies, the free health care, free, they cannot be blamed for accepting these benefits, because why should they say, oh, I don't want it? The government is legally offering it to them, then how can they be blamed for taking it? But then they get corrupted, and then they are viewed as some kind of professional parasites because they are taking these benefits. And that's the deep unfairness of the issue, because it's the government that seduced them to take all these benefits at taxpayers' expense. We were talking about self-sufficient people. We were talking about taxpayers, homeowners, property owners, just regular middle-class, hardworking people. They are being robbed by the government to sponsor all these different groups. And if, for example, the homeless are irreparable, or the criminals may be irreparable, why are they seducing these migrants with all these free benefits instead of giving them opportunity to work? Just give them, all they're asking is work permits. If they get work permits, then there can be some very common sense ways for them to get their permanent residency. Then they're going to be happy. They're not asking to be public charge, because they know once they start making money, they're going to be robbed by the government. Once they open up their own business, they're going to be robbed by the government. So they don't want that. They'd rather not get this public benefits and freebies and welfare right now and then just become self-sufficient right away. It's just making them look bad, and it's not their fault. When we approach immigration problem, there is so many nuances, there is so many issues involved. Anyway, there is also the interest of the local people who were born here, who grew up here. They feel that their communities are changing, that their world is being destroyed because new people are coming in, they speak different language, they have different cultures, traditions, they look different. And so far, what liberals were saying is that anyone who wants to preserve the integrity of the ethnic balance between different ethnic groups in multicultural society is a racist. That should not be a value. There's no value to preserving this demographic balance between different groups of people. Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, or Latinos who came from countries that have native population, like people who are more like Indians, like local natives, indigenous versus just like white Hispanics, let's say Asians coming, etc. That there is basically no understanding of this value of preserving a certain balance between different groups. Because if we have multicultural society, multi-ethnic society already, we need to keep certain balance between different groups. Why? Because in the environment, when you look at nature, if you have too many wolves and not enough deer, the wolves will die out. Then the deer will overwhelm the environment and will destroy the ecological balance. It's a very sensitive topic, but I think this is what's driving Trump's policies, which appear to be very controversial. What's driving those policies is a fear, in a way, I think, it's my guess, is that Stephen Miller, who was an architect of Trump's immigration policies, is afraid that the white population is only 58% already and is going down, is dwindling. So they're afraid that there will be too few white people in the United States. But they cannot say it, they cannot verbalize it, because it's considered racist and a big taboo. It shouldn't be a taboo. If this is what's driving their policy, then they have to justify it and explain that there must be a balance. It's not about people who are coming from abroad being bad people. No, they're not bad people. There is no bad races or bad ethnic groups. They're coming in pursuit of better opportunities. They are not the ones who should be thinking about demographic balances and about who's going to be a parasite and who's going to be making money or being self-sufficient or not self-sufficient. These people, they're not required. They should not be thinking about these things. They just want a better life. It's a responsibility for the politicians who like to talk a lot to actually come up with good justification for their policies. Whatever policies they make, they have to have reasonable, common sense justifications for it. And when you want to have an honest dialogue about it, there should be no taboos. There should be no labels accusing people of being a racist, etc. Let's say liberal accusing a conservative of being a racist, it means liberal has no arguments in defense of the liberal position. They just want to shut them up. They want to diminish their opponent, basically assassinate the character of their opponent by accusing them of being a racist, which is wrong. People who are running our culture should have an honest conversation about. Some people think that Tucker Carlson is insane, but at least he's raising these issues. And I have to give him credit for that, even if you feel that, you need to censor me because I'm saying it, or consider me a bad person since I'm praising Tucker Carlson for something. But I think if this is to be an honest conversation, then I have to give credit where it's due. So there is no notion of, it's not a legitimate argument. It should be a legitimate argument to say that, okay, we want to preserve this white European race, because if we don't, first of all, they're getting very nervous. They're getting nervous to the point that they're authorizing Trump team to close the border. They're authorizing indiscriminate deportations of people who should not be deported, because these people are hardworking people. Many of them, they have jobs and they're valuable to their employers, and their life has as much value as any American who was born here. It's not less value. It's not that they're bad people, because the argument for deportation is that they're bad people, so they need to be deported. But that's not the argument. The deportations is a very sensitive and painful subject that requires a separate discussion. But the criteria for that have to be common sense, reasonable. That's why almost everyone supports deporting criminals. And there has to be an honest dialogue in a society why there is even so much push for all these deportations, why there is so much push to protect demographic balance within the United States. I think if Iraq was able to accomplish some kind of a harmonious coexistence between Kurds and Shia and Sunni, and Afghanistan and Taliban was able to accomplish that when they came to power, and Uzbeks can coexist with Pashto and Urdu, etc., then we should definitely be able to do that. We just have to have a different approach. Europe is completely off the rails. They're being overwhelmed by migrants, and those are not the kind of migrants that we have here. Those migrants that come to Europe are actually very dangerous, and many of them are bad people. They come from Muslim countries where there is so much violence, so much savagery, that when they come to Germany, they start raping German girls in the pools. They start attacking women because they haven't seen a woman's body before. They attack people with knives. They overwhelming France and Germany demographically. And one party that is really trying to save Germany, called AfD, that Musk really likes, they're called Nazis and they're going to be banned, but they're second popular party. There's a reason why they're so popular, because Germans are feeling like they're being overwhelmed, their culture is being destroyed, their nation is being destroyed, so they're supporting a party that many people consider extremist. And those people that come to Europe, they're coming specifically to get benefits. That's why the majority of migrants came to Germany, because Germany was offering to refugees all these lavish benefits without forcing them to work. So they're essentially inviting professional parasites. And Europe is in big trouble. It's going to be suffering from major demographic catastrophe and Islamization. There's nothing wrong with the Muslims in their own countries. Oh, I think they're coming for us. The government is coming for us. We better back up. If you really enjoyed this video, let's keep it between ourselves. Don't worry about liking it, subscribing for it, sharing with anybody. I don't care. I actually don't want you to spill the beans.